Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Anife. For those of you that don't know me, for those of you that do, hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. So for Halloween this year, I decided to try and recreate Kendall Jenner's iconic Golden Fairy Halloween costume. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is it. She looked so beautiful. The second I saw these pictures, I knew I had to try and recreate it. This was 2 years ago, I think. But last year we couldn't do anything for Halloween because of COVID. So this year I was like, this is it. This is the year I'm doing it. So I decided to film it and show you guys the process in case anyone else wanted to try and recreate it. So I created a two-piece, a corset and a skirt. So I was originally gonna go just as a fairy, but me and my boyfriend wanted to match. So I decided not to do the fairy wings and the crown, just because he ended up dressing as Harry Potter and I was the golden snitch. I can't take credit for the idea. It's really cute, but I saw it on a TikTok. I don't remember whose it was. I just saw it and I was like, okay, yes, let's do that. Before I show you like the step-by-step, I'm just gonna tell you what you need, how much it costs me, just so you can figure out if this is a project you want to take on. You're gonna need a lot of feathers. I think I used about 350 to 400, I'm not sure. I bought 2 packs of feathers from Amazon. I'm gonna link the ones I used down below. They were about 20 bucks a pack, I think. So I spent like $40 on fake feathers. And then you're gonna need a corset as a base. I just used one I already had in my closet, but you can get one on Amazon for like 30 bucks. For the bottom part of the costume, I used a Tulle skirt that I also got on Amazon. It was $34. I used 2 kinds of glue, both Gorilla Glue. One was just like fabric glue. The other was like the glue gun, like glue sticks. I don't even know what they're called. I think that's right. I ended up using 3 cans of spray paint. It took me a really long time to find the perfect shade of gold, but I ended up using the Krylon Metallic Bright Gold one. I got them from Michael's. They were $11 each. And then I found these beautiful Christmas decorations from Dollarama. They're like a gold leaf situation, and I used that for the skirt as well. I got 4 of those and they were $2.50 each, so it came out to like $10 altogether. I did find some dupes on Amazon though, so I'm going to link a few options for you guys down below. So yeah, in total I ended up spending about $130. If you do need to buy a corset, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive, but I didn't think it was too bad for like how beautiful it turned out. And I think in total I probably spent like 16 hours doing everything. Probably could have done it faster. You guys will find out why. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys the process. All right, so the first step was to spray paint all of the feathers. I really wanted to make sure this was done evenly, so I taped them all to some cardboard. This was really tedious, but it honestly made spray painting so much easier and faster. As I was spray painting them, I was kind of trying to use my fingers to make sure none of them were overlapping. If they were, I had to move them out of the way. I just really wanted to make sure all of them were getting a nice even coating. Also, the fluffy part of the feather was kind of annoying because every time I would spray, they would like kind of go all over the place, so I had to use my fingers to lay them down to the cardboard. Definitely recommend using gloves for this. I do recommend doing this in a well-ventilated area. I just did it in the garage with the door open. I actually started doing it outside, but it started raining, so that sucked. I let them dry overnight, but the paint I used says it dries in 2 hours. So once they're completely dry, you're gonna wanna really carefully take them off. This was harder than I expected because the fluffy part of the feathers really sticks to the cardboard, and you just want to make sure you rip as little off as possible. If you have a gold corset, you can skip this part, but I didn't, so I had to spray paint mine. I don't have a form, so I made my own using a small pillow and a bra that I actually put around it, and then I just covered it in a plastic bag so I could protect everything. But yeah, I just wanted to do this so that the corset could keep its shape while I was spray painting. I do kind of regret it a little bit though, because it kind of stretched out the corset. If I could do it differently, I would have probably duct taped it to be like my measurements. So I would definitely recommend doing that or using an actual form if you have one. So first I did the front, I let that dry, and then I flipped it over and did the back a few hours later. And you're just really going to want to make sure you go over and under so that you don't have any red peeking through. Now for the actual gluing, which took forever. but I definitely learned a lot while I was doing it, so I'm going to share that with you guys, and hopefully you can get it done much faster. First of all, I experimented with a few types of glues before I started filming, which is why you can see some feathers by the peaks of the corset. I did end up using the Gorilla Glue fabric glue though. It took a really long time though, just because you have to wait 2 minutes for it to get a little tacky, and then you actually have to hold it down. As you can see, eventually I just started using other glues as weights because I was getting so impatient. If I could do it again, I would have just used a glue gun instead, because this literally took hours, you guys. It would have saved me so much time. As for the placement of the feathers, I tried to replicate Kendall's as best as I could, but just like her overall dress shape was different, whereas I have like a corset and a skirt, and then her feathers were different. So I just ended up eventually winging it and like going off the shape of my corset. But you can see what I'm doing here. I was just trying to like use feathers to frame the boob part of the corset. And then when I got to the middle, I was trying to like fan out the feathers a little bit and do that kind of a pattern. I spent a lot of time just laying down the feathers to see what would look good where before I actually committed with the glue. And I used the boning on my corset as guidelines for symmetry and stuff like that. For the back of the corset, I just glued the feathers parallel to each other. It's pretty simple, but I think it looks nice, and I didn't want to spend too much time on the back since it was going to be covered by my wings anyway. When I got to the bottom of the corset, I tried to pick out really small feathers so that I could line the hem. I had the feather tip pointing down because I didn't want the quills to be visible, and then I just covered the ones that were visible with some more small feathers. When I was done the gluing, I did want to go over the corset one last time with some more spray paint, just because some of the spray paint had chipped off when I was taking the feathers off the cardboard, and then again when I was cutting the quills off. There was also a little bit of red from the corset peeking through, and I just wanted it to be entirely gold. Alright, corset is done. Moving on to the skirt. Again, this had to be spray painted. I bought it in a brown because there was no gold and the other colors were like just really bright. I definitely knew I wanted something neutral. I do recommend getting a white or something lighter though, just because I feel like no matter how much spray paint I used, there was always a bit of brown peeking through. I feel like I wasted an entire can on just like spray painting the skirt alone. It's also kind of hard to spray paint because of the tool, so I just tried to like lift parts of it up and do it section by section. While that was drying, I got to prepping these gorgeous Christmas decorations. I actually found these at Dollarama, but I did look for some similar alternatives in case you guys couldn't all get your hands on these. But yeah, as you can see here, Kendall's costume isn't entirely feathers, at least I don't think so. To me, this here looks like a leaf. So when I saw these at Dollarama, I thought they would work really well for this. I ended up getting 4 of these like branches, and they all have 3 leaves each. So I tried to like space them around the skirt evenly. So after I cut off the stems, I started to sew them onto the skirt. They are pretty heavy, so I didn't think glue would be like secure enough to keep them up. What you're gonna wanna do is sew around the main stem, like just under where the first leaf starts to branch out. I went around that part a few times with the thread just to make sure it was really secure. And then I gathered a little bit of tulle on top of that. That just kind of hid the stem and made it look like a little bit more natural, like the branch was coming out of the skirt or like a part of the skirt, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, hopefully you can see what I mean here. I tried to get the best angle I could for you guys, but it was really hard to do without me like blocking the camera. After I sewed all 4 branches on, I put the skirt on just to space out the leaves again. It was just easier to do this when it was actually on my body. And then I glued each leaf where I wanted it to stay with a glue gun and some Gorilla Glue. When I was done gluing the leaves where I wanted them to be, I started to glue feathers in the empty spaces, again using the glue gun. As you can see, I was trying to play around with the placement of the feathers to see what looked good where before actually gluing them down. But I pretty much mixed up the sizes of the feathers here just depending on what looked good where. I was definitely a little bit more random with the placement of the feathers on the skirt than the corset. Like with the corset, I was very particular, but I feel like the skirt didn't need that symmetry. I did just want to make sure to keep smaller feathers around the waistband because I thought that just looked a little bit better. As for placement around the leaves, I decided to tuck some feathers under and place others over, just depending on what looked nice and like the most natural. Once I had a lot of feathers on there though, it did start to weigh down the skirt, so I had to end up laying it flat to finish. This just made it a little bit harder to get all the angles of the skirt like covered in feathers. I also didn't glue feathers all the way down the skirt because I wanted to leave a little bit of tulle exposed. So near the bottom I just started to feather them out a little bit so they weren't so densely placed. And yeah, that was it. I am so happy with the result. Obviously there's some things I would have changed, like I really wish the corset fit me better, but at the end of the day I think it looks absolutely beautiful. Clearly it's not exactly like Kendall's, but I think it looks pretty damn close. And it also wasn't very hard to make, just time consuming. I'm actually so happy with how it turned out. I am really sorry guys, I did want to get this video up for you guys like about a week or so before Halloween, but I actually ended up hosting a party last night as well. So I had a bunch of like decorations to DIY and a bunch of like food to make. So I just didn't have enough time. I am so sorry, but hopefully you still enjoyed watching the video and get some ideas for next year. If any of you do decide to recreate this, please tag me. I would love to see it. I feel like mine turned out great, but with what I learned and told you guys about, I feel like you guys could make it even better. So I would just love to see. I don't care if it's next year, I don't care if it's 2 years from now, I would love to see them. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. If you liked this vibe, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.